so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much.
Hello, all you positive heads out there. Thanks for tuning your beautiful brainwaves into another episode of the Positive Head Podcast, where we are firmly convinced that creating success and happiness is rooted in understanding the ultimate nature of reality and the fact that as human beings, we are all immensely powerful fractals of the one and only source consciousness which creates and animates all things. After years of exploring this awe-inspiring truth on this podcast, I'm super excited to announce that we are now going even deeper down the rabbit hole on the new late-night style consciousness-elevating talk show called Optimistic, which features none other than you, the listeners. Optimistic is taped out of the epic spaceship-esque 8-bedroom property we call the Mystic Manor that myself and the rest of the Optimistic crew now navigate reality from in Venice Beach, California. And you are invited to come experience a Mystic Manor immersion week with us. During your week-long stay, you'll enjoy unique workshops, chef-prepared meals, one-on-one time coaching and consulting with me, and even co-creating magic with me as a guest on both Optimistic and an episode of the Positive Head podcast. When I started this, my aim with these immersive retreats was to facilitate the ultimate spiritual upgrade and tune-up, so to speak, for our guests while providing them with one of the most memorable experiences of their lives. And I'm happy to say that as of this recording, every guest at the end of their trip so far has told me that they have had a profound and transformational experience at the Mystic Manor and that they definitely want to come back. All that being said, we only have a limited number of spots available between now and next July. And as of this recording, about half of those spots are already filled. So if there's any part of you that is screaming, yes, I want to come, I feel like I need to be there, go now and book a slot with me to discuss how we can put our heads together and make it happen at calendly.com/talkwithbrandon. I know for some people, there is also that little voice in their head saying, why not? I can't get off work. I can't afford it, and on and on and on. But, really Henry Ford, I think, said it best. Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. And I'm confident that where there's a will, there's a way. And I'm personally committed to doing everything in my power, including discounts and payment plans, to get you here if it is something that truly feels like a huge yes for you energetically and like you're meant to be here. Once again, the link to book time to discuss with me is calendly.com/talkwithbrandon. That's spelled calendly.com/talkwithbrandon. All one word, of course. And book in some time and look forward to seeing you soon here at the Mystic Manor.
Hello, all you positive heads. On today's P-Head Posse episode, our guest is Positive Head listener Michelle Kardokus Harrison. Michelle is an entrepreneur, CrossFit athlete, and coach, and host of the Noble Cause podcast. Hi, Michelle. Welcome to the show.
Hello. What is up, my people? How's it going?
What is up? It's going great. It's going great. So happy that you reached out and we can get some fresh blood in here on
Right.
the P-Head Posse episodes.
Yeah, I can't hardly believe it. Whenever I first started listening to it, I was like, someday. And that day has arrived. So
The day has come.
yeah.
Is it everything that you hoped it would be?
Oh, yeah. And more. Always.
Awesome. I love it. Well, as we usually do in this podcast series, would love if we could start with you telling us a bit about yourself, maybe about your story, your upbringing, and how you ended up being where you are now.
Yeah. So I am, like you said, I'm a CrossFit coach and a CrossFit athlete. CrossFit, I've been doing it for about 3 years. So that's really a big part of the way that I get to connect with other people, with like our members and our other athletes. So that's really important to me. The Noble Cause podcast I just started recently is something that I've always wanted to do, but I feel like sometimes life has to work at you for a while for things to come full circle for you to be like, oh, I get it now. So when things started to come full circle for me, I was just like, all right, it's time. Let's do this. Like, it's no more messing around. So it took me a while to get to that point. I've done a lot of things in my life. In my 33 years on this planet, I've opened up multiple businesses. I've just kind of done a lot of stuff. I'm constantly going. I have 2 young children. I'm a very passionate person, and I've become more passionate and more intentional with things the older that I get and the more awesome life gets for me. So that's good. Yeah. But I would have to say that definitely entrepreneurship has been a big part of my life, but it's evolved a lot for me. I had an idea of how I wanted things to be for a long time, and I worked my ass off, and I really, really try to make things happen. I try to push a lot of circles into a lot of squares. And unfortunately, that didn't kind of end up the way that I wanted it to. And I had to leave things that meant a lot to me. And it broke my heart and it tore me up and it ripped me apart. I've lost a lot of things in my life just trying to overcome and trying to, come up and stay on top. So with all of that, though, I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about what I'm capable of, and I've learned how to rely on myself for a lot of things. And so that has allowed me to do things differently in my life. And I have, like a rough upbringing. I've had both my parents have struggled with like mental illness. My father passed away whenever I was 15. He actually died of AIDS. So I've just had, grew up hella poor in a rural community, that whole thing, I've had drug addictions and substance abuse and all that stuff, So I've been around the block. I can relate to a lot of people because of that. And I'm honored to be able to be on the other side of it. So that's my past, but I'm learning how to write a new chapter in my life. And I'm learning how to take all that with me, but like use it for good, and not just like live there and unpack my stuff there. Like use it to be relatable and use it to tell my message, and connect with people. But it's made me who I am, but I get to decide like who I am now and who I'm going to be. So that's kind of the whole full circle thing for me, for sure. And Positive Head had a lot to do with that too. I started listening to Positive Head since the very beginning.
Whoa.
So yes,
How'd you find
it? Oh gosh, I don't even know how I found it. I think whenever I just started listening to like Apple Podcasts, but I started listening to YouTube videos. I did medical billing and coding for almost a decade, and it was a crap ton of sitting there in an office by myself, typing. And I didn't have anything to do. So I just listened to stuff. So I listened to Abraham Hicks and like Dale Carnegie and all of them, and Brandon was one of them. I think maybe just like everybody says, I searched positive on the podcast and that popped up. So it like challenged my mindset like none other, like made me really start thinking about the way that I think. And that was the beginning. So that was good, like the positive mind thing, the positive head thing. However, once you get on that path, like you better buckle up, baby.
Yeah.
Because there's like so much growth that has to happen to come out for you to fully feel or express or heal from or integrate into your life or any of this stuff, So like, I would say the next 3 or 4 years of my life was just like this brutal like terrible dark night of the soul. It was brutal, but came on the other side of that.
Yeah.
So it's all good.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing all that. I feel like at some point while you were sharing about kind of the struggle that you went through in growing up, I think you said like, that's what you said. Unfortunately, I had to lose all these things in my life, and something in my head was like, or fortunately, which I think you circled back to, because really, as you were speaking about everything you've gone through, I was like, wow, I wonder how many people are listening right now that have lost a parent or struggled with addiction or any number of the things that you mentioned. And they're witnessing you right now and your energy, which if you met you right now, right? I'm sure no one thinks I don't see any of that. I see this like really bright, shiny, driven, energetic person. And so just that alone, you having that story and doing all the work on yourself now, it's like, I can't imagine how many people are listening going, wow, this is really possible,
Yeah. Well, and that's the illusion. Like you see somebody that has like come full circle or is like so totally in their authentic, like greatness, but you don't see all the stuff they had to walk through to get there, and we seem to think that people just flip a switch and there they are. And it's like, that is not even how things go. And we try to tell ourselves that because that separates us, saying, I could never be like that. I guarantee you, if I can do it, anyone can do it, and my biggest passion in life is just to like inspire other people too, because, I don't even like the word empowerment or like empowering somebody. I don't feel like you can empower somebody. You empower yourself. You can inspire somebody to empower themselves. But like, that's what I love about just like being able to put myself out there is I can inspire people to do their own thing. And then that means that they're able to be themselves and that they have the freedom to make it into whatever they want it to. It's like all about you. Don't do what I'm doing. I can tell you what has helped me along the ways. Most of it's mindsets for sure. But at the end of the day, like you got something great in you too that is waiting to be manifested. So it's like, I hope that, if anybody listens to anything, it's like, you got it too. We all got it. That's why we're here. I think so. So for sure.
Yeah. I love that. As you were talking, I kept getting this image in my head of like, it's like yourself is a puzzle, right? Because it's like when we're babies, maybe things are more clear, but like as your life goes on, you kind of get all scrambled up by what other people are doing and saying in situations that you're in. You get so confused about. And then I just saw us each as like this puzzle. One of the, remember those sliding puzzles? You slide one piece. It's like a flat puzzle contain. Anyway, so we're like scrambling all these around, trying to figure out. And then as you're doing the work, you're getting closer and closer, like the work on yourself. And then you get it. And then something unlocks and you find that like gem inside of you. And then once you find that, you're like, oh, now I want other people to find their gem. It's not my gem. It's not, I don't want them to find this because it's not the same. They have their own and I want to help them figure out that puzzle.
Well, and you know what? Like, I don't know if it's like this way for everybody, but I feel like there's some like universal truth to this. Whatever that is, like, what it is. It's underneath. Yeah. It's like the bottom thing. It's the one thing that scares you shitless to think about actually doing. It's the one thing that like comes up and you're like, but my entire life would have to change. It's like, your entire life
That's the point.
is going to have to change for you to like grow into this person that, and I don't like to say meant to be. I feel like, especially with my podcast, I try not to have like religious things or even spirituality. Like, honestly, to be honest, I don't even claim to be that because I don't want to lose people in all of that. Like it's more about the best version of you, or the things that you enjoy in this life, or the things that you're passionate about, or your talents or your interests or whatever. It doesn't have to be about like something woo-woo, and that's one of the things I appreciate about Positive Head too, is I've always felt like Brandon, and I have told him this, like I always feel like he's like a bridge, like in between those two worlds, because we have these like gurus that are just like all out there, and then we have these like normal people like me and, but then there needs to be a bridge somehow for us to be able to talk about these big, expansive ideas or mindsets or whatever it is without like losing people. Cause I could say one thing, I could say, meant to be, and I lose a ton of people because they're like, no, I don't believe that there's any, like, I don't believe in fate. I don't believe in all that. And that's fine. Like, I'm all for whatever anybody believes, but I don't want to get lost in that. It's like, okay, then let's back up. Like, what can we talk about that we can like connect or grow from or learn from or whatever? Because that's ultimately what I care about. I'm not here to like try to create a religion or anything like that. You know, it's like, it's all about people and experiencing this life. And to be honest, it's like, we don't know what the hell is really going on anyway. Yeah. So it's like, why pretend like we do?
Exactly. And I appreciate that too, because you're right. Like once you go once you start using terminology like that, and you're very clearly like calling in a specific demographic, and a lot of people are not going to hear you. I have a podcast with another Positive Head listener, and we are super woo, like super woo woo. And we knew that going in. We knew like we're going to call in a specific demographic, and that's okay with us because we're appealing to like people who really need to come into their power and their like spiritual understanding of themselves.
Right.
However, I really appreciate that like you have an intention to like, we need that too. We need like the practical grounded, like, hey, humans here who are wandering around wondering like what to do with yourself. They need someone to hear too. You know what I mean? So,
well, exactly. You know, it's like we each fulfill certain things, you know, and together as a collective, that's why it's so important, you know. And there is a ton of like support. I feel like I have a ton because I get super woo woo, like straight up, but it's something that I do with me, like private. In my time.
It's personal.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what heals me. And that's what helps me. I do a lot of self-healing. Practically everything that I do is self-healing, you know, and sometimes I am searching for more, whether it's just more insight or understanding bigger, expansive topics. And that's why like your podcast or the Positive Head podcast or Abraham Hicks or like all of these other different spiritual teachers or whatnot, it fuels me. But at the same time, like I have a different purpose as well. It's like, I'm here for the punk rockers and the freaking drug addicts and the crazy people. Like I'm your girl, you know, cause it's like, I feel you 100%, but I can stand here and we can talk about things for real, you know? And I have people weekly. I have people reach out to me. One of the biggest things I've done lately is I have let go of an alcohol. I don't know if it was an addiction or what it was, but, so that was a really, really, really big thing for me. That was about 7 months ago and it's changed my entire life. And I'm willing to talk about stuff like that, you know, even though it makes me vulnerable and absolutely it like puts a target on me. Sometimes I can't talk about anything I can't say anything about me without people getting offensive because it does something to them. It triggers them somehow, which I respect, you know, like that's fine. But at the end of the day, maybe like if I'm not able to connect with you, then maybe I'm not meant to, you know, but there's people that are reaching out to me. So that's how I know that my work is mattering because people are reaching out to me and I can be of some support with them somehow, because sometimes it's not just about, the alcoholic or going to AA or needing to be on medication or whatever, you know, and the same thing with like mental illness. I talk about, or mental health in general, I should say, I talk about this a lot too. Sometimes it's not the person that has a diagnosis or the person that has to go to the doctor. Sometimes it's just people having people problems, you know, and like, we should be able to talk about it without it meaning something or without us putting it in a box or like, you know, like trying to just like take on these different identities. It's like, you could just be you going through whatever you're going through, you know, and trying to be better. That's really all that it is. It doesn't have to be anything. And there's not a lot of support for that, I don't feel like. So that's a big one for me, you know, like just being that person to say, it's like, it's all good. Like we can talk about this. It doesn't have to, we talk about stigmas, you know, and it's like, we don't have to feed into that. It's all good. We could just connect. Like, I'm here for you, you know, whatever we could do, let's do it. Let's talk about it. Cause not talking about it isn't going to help. And it's never going to change the way that everybody views things if we keep on going along with the same old bullshit, you know? So
totally. I love that. Like, snaps for that, because I was just talking about this, I think on my podcast or with someone, I don't remember, but about exactly what you're talking about. I think we feel, especially in the case of like addiction or something that you're struggling with in your life, I think people feel like, well, I can't talk about this until I've resolved it, right? I can't talk about this until like I'm perfect or it's fixed or whatever. And it's like, that is what's making us sick. That is what's making us depressed. And that's what's making us feel alone. Because the reality is you're always going to be going through something. You're always going to be in some, even if you resolve one thing, another thing's going to come up. And so then you're always going to have an excuse of like, well, I can't talk about these things. And then you're going to keep it inside. You're never going to connect and you're going to feel like no one's there for you. And then it's going to, and I think that leads to more because that's your connect. That's what you replace as human with, instead of human connection, you have food or alcohol or whatever it is that you're dealing with. So I applaud that message 100%. I think it is so important for us to learn that, like, and I feel like what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like, you don't have to be like, it's okay if like you decided to quit alcohol, for example, and then you drank like 3 days later and that's what you're going through. Like you can still talk about it with people. You don't have to. I feel like it's kind of like the I'm on a diet thing. And then you go off the diet and then everyone's like, I thought you were on a diet. It's like this outer
shame and
like you gotta be 100% all into something. Like why?
Because people do that to themselves because they don't relax on themselves enough to let themselves be like okay to mess up or take a couple steps back. So they do that. So they're projecting that to other people. Like it happens. I get this a lot. Like I could, even me just saying I don't drink, people think that I'm being judgmental. Yeah. Even though I'm saying nothing. I'm like, I didn't say anything about you, you know, like totally. Who's judging who here? You know? Totally. But it's like I totally that projecting.
I was just going to say, I don't like, I'm not like sober, but I just usually don't drink. And I experience that all the time when I go out and everyone's drinking. They're like, why aren't you drinking? I'm like, oh, cause I just like usually don't drink. It's just so interesting. Yeah. People take things as like personal offenses if you're not joining them. Totally. But yeah. I think that's just such a huge point. And I wish people would talk more about, just what they're going through in general, like no matter where they are. And I also would like more people to be receptive to that instead of like you're talking about like so judgmental about like you have to be here or here. It's black or white. Nothing is black or white. It's very gray, honestly. A lot of things are very gray.
Well, not only that, like those are the things that have to work on you. I would much rather see you like go back and forth and struggle with something and it bring up your guilt and it bring up your shame and it bring up your resentment and it bring up all this stuff that is trying to get you to look at than for you to just like drop everything and just carry on and forge ahead and pretend like everything's fine. It's like, it's way better for you to like work with it and let it work at you than it is to just try to ignore it. Like it's not, you know, like it doesn't exist.
Totally. Love that. So what you said, you have a podcast now and you do CrossFit. Did you say you're a CrossFit coach?
Yeah. So I teach CrossFit to other people and then I'm an athlete myself. So I train and then teach other people and coach other people as well.
Cool. And how do you see that as, you know, playing into like the CrossFit world or the athlete world, playing into the transformational world and the world of people working on themselves? Like it's such a physical, I feel like, representation of what people can go. I feel like when people really start to work on themselves, that's something that they flock to. They like actually are transforming physically as well. So how do you experience that in your work?
Yeah. So it's kind of like the same thing that I was just talking about, kind of being that bridge. I was not the athletic type whenever I was younger. My parents were too poor to buy me a new pair of Nikes, you know, like It didn't happen. They weren't healthy enough to play with me and stuff. So like, I actually like resented like the jocks and the preppies and whatnot. I was like, I'm going to be skater punk chick and like the total opposite. So now that I'm an adult and I learned how to take care of myself, and most of it was like after I had kids, you know, I needed to like lose weight. And that's a lot of the reasons why people start on the journey of trying to become fitter. But for me, I was lucky enough to find CrossFit and lucky enough to find people that like really have been super supportive of me. So for me, it's like camaraderie for sure. I work with some of the best people in the world. Like I have people that I get to learn from and train with every day. But I'm also, I'm probably one of the only coaches in my gym that doesn't have that athletic background. And I love that though, because we get to this point, and I was just talking about this in like my podcast the other day. We're going to say that a lot. Yeah, that's one. Take a drink of water every time we say that. But, you know, I am the first person to expose that, because we get to this point to where we feel like there's two types of people in this world, people who work out and people that don't. And that's like, why can't we just be people doing people stuff, taking care of each other? You know, it's like, that excuse can go right out the window, dude, because you're just stopping yourself from doing something that's like, it's only hurting you, you know? And so we need to just like put that all aside. It's like, it doesn't have to be a stereotype to take care of yourself. You know, like what works for you works for you. Even if you are riding your mountain bike, or if you like running or hiking or whatever it is, for God's sakes, like find something that you enjoy that has movement. It's all about movement, staying mobile. And what I love about CrossFit is that we do like Olympic weightlifting, which I love. I love lifting heavy stuff. And we do a bunch of like crazy gymnastics and ninja shit. So that is my favorite. It makes me feel like for so long, I was like the ornery, like skater punk, and I drank too much, and I was probably sloppy and belligerent most of the time. So now that I'm able to like focus, you know, and like do this ninja stuff and feel good about myself and feel strong and be like aware of my surroundings and be present, and then also be a positive influence on other people, be a good example to myself as well as my children, you know, that means a lot to me too. So that it all comes, it's like all part of it. Like CrossFit, I don't just train physically, man. I'm training like emotionally, and I'm training spiritually, and I'm training mentally. There's days where things get hard. There's days where there's something that it's like that last couple minutes that you have to do, you know, in your WOD, and you just start bawling. There's just something in you that needs to come out, because we're struggling in our everyday lives. I mean, unfortunately, that's just a part of life. You know, I think that there's a lot to learn from it, and we can choose to move through it and let it make us better. But like, it's hard no matter what. So I like to train in an intentional place of challenge, and it helps me in my life when things come at me sideways or unexpected things pop up. I feel like I'm able to like better maintain myself, master myself in any given situation. And to me, that's what fitness is all about, and living longer and feeling better and being happier and having more energy and making better decisions in your life. And for me, it's like playfulness and lightheartedness and like just being like feeling like a kid again, you know, and we lose that. Like we lose our ability to play, and we lose our ability to, you know, do these things that used to bring us a lot of joy. So, and I think that's all related, like just being fit in general, you know, whole body. So that's what it means to me. And that's why I am where I am. And I'm so like honored to be where I am, because I just get to do me, but I get to like lead by example, which is like exactly what my life is about. I don't like telling people what to do, but I definitely will show them how I do it. And then maybe they could take a page out of my book or not. That's okay too. You know, write your own book.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. I love that perspective, and definitely about, you know, especially it sounds like with something like CrossFit, when you're constantly being pushed to new levels and a variety of things that maybe sometimes you're like, I don't even know if I can do this. And you're constantly proving to yourself, like, actually, I can do this. That is such a something that carries over into the rest of your life. And I think that's so important to recognize. Yeah,
for sure. It's a form. I mean, it's mastery, whether it's physical or whether it's emotional or whether it's mental, you know, it's like mastering yourself in any situation. You don't have to wait for the perfect opportunity, the perfect situation. It's never going to happen. You know, like, come at me, come at me, bro. Come at me live.
I love that. Perfect. Well, and so how about your podcast, The Noble Cause, right? That's what it's called.
Yeah. So I have a lot of fun with that, man. Like, recording is one of my favorite things to do, whether it's, I love being like in radio studios. I love music. I love comedy. I love like everything. But the reason why I created the Noble Cause podcast, I'm actually also writing a book by the same name, The Noble Cause. The whole idea of the Noble Cause is to turn any life experience into a noble cause. So whatever you're going through, you can work through it and come on the other side of it and like let it make you better, you know? So that's what the whole thing is about. I do my episodes. There's a lot of things that interest me. It all is definitely connected, but it might seem maybe like it's all over the place. So what I mean by that, like, I'll talk about like mental health, and then I'll talk about like nutrition, or I'll talk about like just living a purposeful life, or challenging your mindset, or like all of this stuff, you know, things that mean a lot to me. I also I'm all about like going with the flow in my life right now. So it's not just what I want, it's like what my listeners want too, or how I can help them or be of value to them in their life. So I'll put out, you know, like, hey, what's something that maybe a topic that I could talk to you guys about or whatever. So there was one that came up recently about body image. And like a lot of the women that train at my gym, you know, I know we all struggle with that, you know, so I was able to kind of take a stab at that, talking more in the sense of like, I'm all about asking questions, like ask yourself some questions and be freaking honest with yourself. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh yeah, you know, woe's you or woe's me. And like, let's connect and let's be honest and vulnerable for a minute, but then let's figure out a way to move forward. Let's figure out a way to make sense out of all of this so we can move forward in our lives. We don't need to stay there, you know, and you're not alone. Like, you got people that care about you. You'd be so surprised. You would be so surprised at people that look like they have their whole act together.
Yeah.
If you start talking to people, like I have been amazed to be talking to people and be like, wow. And they do it to me, you know, like, oh, you look like you have everything together. It's like, well, you know, I'm a human and I go through things just like anybody else. So I also do interviews on my podcast. I have like 4 jobs right now and I have 2 kids. I'm just hustling. I am just hustling right now in my life. I'm really, really dedicated to like push through and just overcome and like come up and stay on top. That's just what I'm about right now. And I'm willing to do anything that it takes, but very intentionally, not the way that I used to do things. I'm not trying to push up against things anymore. I put a little bit out and I put a little bit out and I put a little bit out. And what comes back to me, you know? And I've learned how to let the things go that need to go, and the things that will stay will stay. And you don't have to have control over all of it all the time. And you don't have to worry about the what ifs, because sometimes the worst things that you think could happen end up being the best thing that could ever happen for you. So like, I don't know, I have a grand vision of where all of this is going to turn up for me, but ultimately, like, I'm here as a messenger, and I'm here like as a fellow human, and wherever I am better served, that's where I want to be, even if it's different than where I think that I should be. So, and all of this messages, all of this stuff that I'm talking about too, like my whole message, one of my biggest passions and what my book is about is all of this stuff, but in bite-sized like pieces and geared towards the youth, because I really, really have like a calling to inspire and encourage the youth, especially in this time in history, and not to tell them what to do, but to get them to ask themselves questions and to challenge those mindsets and to really like figure out what their purpose is or their passion is, or the best way that they can solve problems in the world, or all these things, you know? So everything that I do, like to the youth is very, very important to me. I am like on I'm the secretary of a school board for an alternative high school, the one that I went to in my little town. So I have the opportunity to definitely like be a mentor, and I'm always like, they always know who to call when they need somebody to connect to the kids, you know? And sometimes I think, oh, I should be a teacher, but then I have to realize it works because I'm not a teacher, you know, because I'm not their teacher. I'm just a person that like sat in that same spot doing exactly what they're doing. But then I've come into the other side of it, and I hope to God, maybe they don't have to take as much freaking time as I do. You know, it's like maybe they could start healing themselves, or just challenging their mindsets, or bettering themselves, or whatever that it is to do, or like taking the chance to follow your dreams, or to like pursue your passions, all this stuff, and doing it at a younger age, because we need that. Like we need that. It's not just about robots and the industrial revolution anymore. You know, there's big stuff that needs to go down, and those kids don't have anything else left. We can't promise them nothing. You know, there ain't a damn thing that we can promise them like we were promised in generations before. So it's like, I want to encourage them to like, do it their way, like do it your way. This is your guys' time. We obviously, I don't know, we did such a good job. It's all you.
Did you see, like, literally just a few hours ago today, you know, Greta Thunberg, I think she's the 16-year-old climate activist from Sweden. She and like 15 other children just filed a lawsuit against like 5 countries together for their carbon emissions. Like, and like they had a whole press conference, and like and they were all standing up and just like talking so eloquently some of them were like 11 and 12.
Yeah.
And at the same, so it's on one hand, it's like, wow, like they're really, like some of them are really understanding, like you're not going to do anything for us and we have to do it. And on the other hand, I totally understand there are children who feel very disempowered and aren't getting the right, aren't getting information and aren't being lifted up by their communities or, you know, by their families or whatever. And so you're right. Like they really need that information. And if they can get it, like you said, earlier than you did, earlier than I did, I think about that all the time. I'm like, man, what would I be like if I had known I'm an EFT tapping practitioner. So I'm like, man, if I had known about this modality when I was 9, like how might things be different?
Yeah.
And they're not different. And that's the point. Like the point is I was supposed to find it at this time and start my healing now. But totally, I think about that too. And that's really amazing that you can play that role in children's lives because they need it. Like you said, like they need somebody.
They do for sure. And like, I get so mad whenever I hear people talking so much crap about like the younger generation and stuff. It's like, I mean, it's propaganda that has been going on probably since the beginning of time, but it's just like, man, these kids are they live in a different world, like nothing we've ever experienced. Yeah. So it's like, you can't promise them the things that you used to. And the only people that like, there's this thing happening right now where everybody's all anxious that like, oh my gosh, the next generation isn't going to buy into my BS. Yeah. They're not going to support me anymore. Like they don't care about the billions of dollars of money. What the heck? What am I going to do? You know, like how do I keep my interests intact? And it's like, well, it's time to move on now, I guess. I don't know, like take all your billions of dollars of money if that's what it's all about and move over because like there's real work to do, you know, and I support that and I encourage that in whatever capacity that means. And I'm like, that in every part of my life, you know, what comes to me, then I show up, or what shows to help people or add value, then that's, I'm going to be there, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Well said. And I agree. Great. Well, I have just a couple questions for you as we start to kind of wind down here. And the one question that I love asking everyone on this show is, what is one thing that you think would benefit every Positive Head listener to know or understand as they continue on their own journey?
So I think that there's like 2 folds to my answer. I would have to say, and I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, the positive mindset is a great place to start. Absolutely. It's really invigorating and very exciting and refreshing to like thinking about things differently and the ability to think about things differently, and how, like you notice it in your life and things might seem a little bit easier, a little bit brighter, and that's all fine and dandy. But if there's things within you that need to come out, like let it. Don't think like, oh, that's negative. Don't want to go there. It's negative. It's like, this is not what that's about at all. Like, you've got, be prepared is all that I can say, is like, be prepared for things to come up and let them come up and feel all of it. And it's okay to feel all of it. And it's okay to feel yucky, and it's okay to feel like crap about it, but find a way to move through it. I constantly ask myself, why is this happening to me? What is this teaching me? What can I learn from this? Because sometimes that's like the hardest question to ask. And if you don't know the answer right off the bat, that's okay. Put it in the back of your head, just say, all right, there will come a time where this is going to start to make more sense. There'll come a time to where I am going to be able to use this. It will fuel me, or it will help me somehow. But we have our mindset on the way that we think that things should be. And we don't give room for the flow and give room for the life and give room for the healing and the growth and all of that stuff. We want it to be easy and we want it to be quick, and it just don't work that way, So like, be patient with yourself, but be prepared for things to come up, and honor yourself for it, and reach out. Like, if you can. I know for me, I didn't feel like I had people in my life that I could reach out to. And so I did a lot of things alone, but you know what? It served me so well because I learned how to be there for myself. I don't need anybody else for me to do my self-work and my healing. I need my higher power, like my woo-woo stuff that we talk about. That's what I need, what I have adopted into my practice. But at the end of the day, I'm the one that gets to heal me, and I'm the one that gets to sit with myself and heal myself and listen to myself and encourage myself and love myself and move forward in my life. So everybody has that within them. Every single person does. We think that it's in another person, in a relationship, in a substance, in a job, in something exterior. It's not. It's like all within you. So even though it might be hard, though, you have the ability to do that for sure. We all do. So it's like, don't be scared to do it. It's okay. And don't get caught up in like thinking that you can't think about things in a negative way, because that's BS, man. Like, that's not human. That's not real. You're either denying something. I feel like you're either denying something, or you're just not letting it work on you to the capacity that it has, like, its ability to work on you to get you to be where you need to be, or who you want to be, or who you strive to be, or the best version of you, or all of those things, So yeah, don't get too caught up in all the positive stuff, because shortly things might follow.
Yeah, I love that, because I always say, like, just agree with yourself. Meaning, like, if you're feeling bad, say like, yeah, I feel bad right now. Like, I don't feel good. This feels X, Y, and Z. And that's something that it seems so simple. It seems like, well, duh, but it's like, but that's what we don't do. We try to say, it's fine. And like, to your point, we don't let it come up, and we push it down, and then it comes out explosively somewhere else. And then that sets off a whole nother series of events that we have to deal with. So just agree with yourself. If you don't feel good, say, yeah, I don't feel good. If you feel good, say, yeah, I feel good. Like,
yeah. Well, and it's not the difference of the person that doesn't feel that. That's the illusion. It's the difference of, first of all, it's the difference of the person that is willing to feel that, and the amount of time. So it's like, I don't necessarily go through less crap that I always have, but I am able to move through it faster and quicker. So my good days are longer and my bad days are shorter, and that's also the difference of the person that carries on in spite of feeling that way. Like, do what you need to do the thing, do whatever the thing is that you need to do. Don't let those insecurities or the depression, the anxiety, or all those things that we deal with all the time, don't let it stop you. But don't think that you can't be that person or come to your fulfillment. It's like, oh, I'm not like you. I'm not like that. I can't do that. It's like, it's not the difference of the person that doesn't feel it or doesn't go through stuff. It's a difference of the person that carries on and in spite of it, and it will get better. It might take you years, but it will get better and it will get quicker. I am at the point in my life where I'm like 2 days.
Yeah.
2 days, no matter what it is. I could have my whole world explode. My house could burn up and I would feel that shit for 2 days. And then it's like, okay, let's write it out. Let's get it out. What did you learn? How is this a blessing to you? How can you carry this with you moving forward in your life and move on? It's quicker. It's good.
Do you do public speaking? / want to?
Yeah.
You should.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear that like all the time. No, I do.
Yeah. No, you really
should.
But
the thing is like, it's like, I don't know what, I hate like inspirational speaker stuff, because I don't fit into any boxes and I don't like fitting into boxes and I don't like to put other people in boxes either, because I don't think that serves them either. But my whole thing, the only way I can describe it is like, it's like punk rock psychology.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
just you could do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could do that you could speak on whatever you want. You could.
Exactly. You don't have to. Yeah. I don't know. Well, that's what we'll call it. We'll just call it punk rock
psychology. I love that.
It's the only thing that like makes a little bit of sense to me.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah. Yeah. You definitely should be speaking because like you're inspiring me right now. I'm like, yeah, that's true. That's what I'm feeling, right? Like you're just bringing to light so many awesome, illuminating for me, like how much I've grown. And I'm just like, yeah, oh my God, it doesn't take it. It's anyway, you should be speaking.
Awesome. Yay. That makes me happy. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry.
See, that's the stuff that comes back.
Yeah. Exactly.
And now I know where to go.
Exactly. Okay. So we only have a few minutes left. Oh my God. I don't know what just happened. I'm like choking on my own words. Okay. So, last question is, because we like stories on this show, obviously. Do you have any fun or exciting stories of synchronicity or manifestation or just stories that make you feel powerful or magical or anything like that?
Yeah. So now I'm choking on my words too.
No.
It must be something in the computer.
Yeah. Definitely.
So I'm a listener, so I hear all these stories all the time. And I thought about this question. And there's a couple things I could say, like, first of all, once I started like on my path. So what I'm doing now is like what I was talking about earlier about the like underlying. So I thought it was about selling skateboards. I thought it was about having a business. I thought it was about the outdoor industry. I thought it was about this and that. That was like logically what I could do to be able to have a platform, to be able to like influence people or mentorship or all of these things. So I thought it was all these other things. And then that all blew up on me and didn't work out. So I was like forced to walk away from something. And my biggest fear at that point in time was I wouldn't have a platform anymore, that nobody would give a crap about what I said because I would just be like a normal person talking, like I felt like I had to be worthy somehow. I had to be something more than just me to be worthy enough to help people, which is kind of a crazy thought. But so with the podcast and with writing, it is 100% in my heart of hearts what I'm supposed to be doing. It was the thing that I didn't think I could, and the thing that didn't make sense. It didn't make sense money-wise. It didn't make sense time-wise. It didn't make sense for me as a mother and all these things, but it was just something that was within me that needed to manifest. So once I stopped messing around and got serious about that and challenged myself to put myself out there, things happen to me like crazy. Like we talk about the numbers, like saying, 111 or 222. I kid you not, that happens to me at least 5 or 6 times a day. And I've done the odds. It's like crazy amount of odds. It's like one in, I don't even know. I can't even say the numbers. I did the math though. It's a lot. Yeah. It's not very common. Yes, exactly. It's not very common. Like the chances of, unless you have a clock in front of your face 24/7, like the chances of that reaching you, and every time just little things like that. But I wouldn't say that I have a big synchronicity story. I think that what happened and what's happening to me is the right people showing up in my life at the right time and telling me the things that I need to hear whenever they don't know that I need to hear that, or them taking the time out of their day to give me a message that I needed that they didn't know, or like even small things. Like I was on Amazon the other day. I was like, I want some jewelry or whatever, and so I bought some crap. And then the next day I have one of my very, very dear friends that I've become very close with lately. And she lives a different lifestyle than me. She's like a professional snowboarder and has just been all over the world. But she's such a good like influence and like positive person in my life. And I cherish her friendship. She gave me this like beautiful mala beads.
I was looking at that. It's beautiful.
From her, she asked her friend that was in Peru to get this for me, and had it blessed by a Buddhist monk. And the monk said it must be for somebody very special. And she gave it to me, just like things like that, that it's just like a gift that means so much to me, like that keeps me going and keeps me. People like ask me all the time, how do you have the energy? This is how I have the energy, because I don't waste my time on things that don't matter anymore. Like, yeah, I got to hustle. I got to make money. I got bills to pay. I'm a mom. I got kids to take care of, meals to cook, a house to clean. I got all that stuff, but it fuels me like none other. Like it's so intense living your life this way. Whenever you find things that you love and you just want to wake up and you want to do them or experience them or whatever it is, it's like I'll work 3 days straight as long as I can have some studio time, or, like just those little things, and it keeps you going. And I feel like that's what it takes to overcome. And that's what it takes to get you to that spot, and people underestimate how much work it takes. But if you're able to accommodate and organize your life in such a way to support that growth and to support those passions and to not require permission, it's like you're sitting there waiting for somebody to give you permission to be you. That person's you. So
yeah.
Give yourself some permission. And that's how you teach other people and show other people how they can honor and love themselves as well. So I don't have no crazy synchronicity story, because it's just the way of life at some point. Whenever you're on that level, everything comes together somehow. It speaks to you somehow. It speaks together somehow, and like really being aware of the flow. I could say, oh, I want something. And my initial reaction is like, go get it. But I'm learning how to like ease up and say, it'll come to me if it needs to come to me. Or I will be inspired in a different way to where it will be more meaningful to me, where I have more intention with it, And so just like being aware of all of that stuff, like it's just a way of life.
I love that. I love how you answered that, because that's absolutely the truth. And you can feel it, girl. You're like in that flow right now. So it's magic. And thank you for sharing your magic and your wisdom and your energy and high vibes with us today.
Vibes are high, baby.
Yeah, you can feel them. Michelle, why don't you give everyone just a little bit of info of like where they can reach out to you, how to listen to your podcast, anything like that? Yeah.
So for my podcast, I do YouTube videos. I do that mostly because I can reach a lot more people. You don't have to download an app. Not everybody likes listening to podcasts. It's so funny. I'll like younger people. I'll say, oh, I started a podcast. And they'll say, oh yeah, that's not really my thing. And I'll say, I have YouTube videos. And they're like, oh, now you're speaking my language. So the Noble Cause podcast. So on YouTube, and then on Apple Podcast, and then on Podbean too. So those are the 3 ways. My email address is thenoblekausepodcast@gmail.com. I have an Instagram, Michelle Kardokus, and my Facebook is Michelle Kardokus Harrison, and that's Kardokus. And I like just like making friends or meeting new people too. So as much as I appreciate the love with the podcast or whatnot, it's like hit me up and we could connect. I have people messaging me all the time, and I take the time out of my life to like just connect with people or try to be of service to them somehow. I come from a long lineage of pastors, so it's a part of me, my willingness to serve, and I'm blessed for that. So I think that's all my info to how to hit me up. So hit me up.
Thank you so much. We will put some of that in the show notes as well. So if you were listening and you didn't catch it fully, just go to the show notes. And we'll put that in there. Michelle, thank you so much for being here, for your smiling face. It was such a pleasure to be in your presence. Please start speaking. I see that for you in a major way. And just keep doing everything you're doing, because you're doing it. You're doing it, and you're an inspiration. So thank you.
You too, girl. Thank you for everything that you do. Like, I honor you for everything that you do too. And like, it matters and definitely adds values to other people's lives. There we go. Bleh.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot. I received that. And yeah, I mean, doing this gets to connect me with people like you. So it all comes full circle. We're all doing it with each other. Good. Yeah. Awesome, everyone. Well, thank you for listening. Tune in to next week. And what does Brandon always say? Oh, journey well. That's what he always says. There you go.
I'll say much love to my people.
Much love to my people. Love that one too.
Yes.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
And if you're feeling the call to come for a week retreat style Mystic Manor immersion, remember to go now and book your time to speak with me directly about stepping into the optimistic vortex at calendly.com/talk with Brandon while there are still spots left. Otherwise, I look forward to co-creating magic with you at the Mystic Manor.